Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're heading to one of the most famous, and sometimes misunderstood, boroughs of New York City, the Bronx. It's a place of incredible history, from farmland and grand estates to the birthplace of hip-hop, home of the Yankees, and a diverse mosaic of cultures that keep it pulsing with life. So let's dive into the story of the Bronx. Long before skyscrapers or subway lines, the land that would become the Bronx was home to Native Americans for thousands of years. The Lenape, particularly a group called the Siwanoy, lived throughout this region. They fished in the rivers, hunted in the forests, and traveled in canoes along the Bronx River and Long Island Sound. The land was rich and teeming with life, from oak forests to salt marshes, and it was crisscrossed by native trails long before Europeans arrived. Then came the early 1600s. The Dutch were the first Europeans to settle here, establishing New Netherland. One notable arrival was a Swedish-born sea captain named Jonas Bronk, who in 1639 bought about 500 acres of land north of the Harlem River. His homestead became known as Bronx Land or Bronx, which over time evolved into the Bronx, the only borough in NYC that's preceded by them. After the English took over in 1664, the Bronx became part of the greater colony of New York. For the next 2 centuries, it remained largely rural, dotted with small farms, manors, and country estates. Wealthy families like the Morrises and the Van Cortlandts built large homes, some of which still stand today in places like Van Cortland Park and Morris Jumel Mansion. The Bronx also saw its share of American Revolution action. In 1776, George Washington's troops retreated across the Bronx after the Battle of White Plains. Skirmishes and encampments left their mark on local farms and homesteads. Through the 1800s, the Bronx slowly started changing. Railroads arrived, connecting it more closely to Manhattan and the rest of the region. Small villages like Fordham, Tremont, and Mott Haven began to grow, attracting people looking for quieter lives outside the crowded streets of Manhattan. A major turning point came in 1898, when the Bronx was officially annexed as part of New York City during the consolidation that created the 5 boroughs. Suddenly, the Bronx was on the fast track to urbanization. In the early 20th century, waves of immigrants, Irish, Italian, German, and later Jewish families, flocked to the Bronx. They built tight-knit neighborhoods full of row houses, apartment blocks, and bustling commercial streets. The Bronx developed a strong identity as a borough of working-class ambition, family businesses, vibrant street life, and community pride. Then came the Yankees. In 1923, Yankee Stadium opened in the South Bronx, becoming the house that Ruth built. Baseball legends like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig turned the Bronx into the center of the sports universe. Even today, Yankee Stadium is a symbol not just of baseball, but of Bronx pride. Meanwhile, the Bronx became a cultural powerhouse. Its streets echoed with Yiddish theaters, Italian festivals, and salsa rhythms brought by Puerto Ricans who began arriving in large numbers after World War II. By the 1950s and 60s, the Bronx was one of the most diverse places in America, but it was also facing new challenges. Large-scale projects like the Cross-Bronx Expressway, spearheaded by Robert Moses, tore through established neighborhoods, displacing thousands of families and fracturing communities. In the 1970s, the Bronx went through some of its darkest days. Economic decline, factory closures, landlord abandonment, and arson ravaged many neighborhoods. Images of burned-out buildings and streets in ruin became unfair shorthand for the borough. But out of this hardship came something revolutionary: hip-hop. In the rec rooms and parks of the South Bronx, DJs like Kool Herc, MCs, and breakdancers invented a whole new art form. From block parties on Sedgwick Avenue to dance battles in abandoned lots, hip-hop spread from the Bronx to the world. By the 1980s and 90s, the Bronx began to turn a corner. Community groups, new housing initiatives, and determined residents worked to rebuild neighborhoods. Murals and music celebrated Bronx culture, and new immigrants, from the Dominican Republic, West Africa, Mexico, and beyond, brought fresh energy. Today, the Bronx is once again thriving. It's the greenest borough in NYC, home to incredible parks like Van Cortland Park, Pelham Bay Park, which is actually bigger than Central Park, and the New York Botanical Garden. It's also a culinary wonderland, whether you're sampling Italian pastries on Arthur Avenue, often called the real Little Italy, or Dominican chimas along the Grand Concourse. And of course, there's still hip-hop, salsa, and jazz. The Bronx's cultural legacy continues through local art centers, music festivals, and grassroots movements that honor its roots. But maybe the biggest story of the Bronx is its resilience. Time and again, the borough has faced tough times, from revolutionary battles to urban decay, and come back stronger, fueled by a fierce community spirit and deep pride in being from the Bronx. So from Lenape hunting grounds to Dutch farms, Yankee cheers to breakdance spins, the Bronx is more than just a borough, it's a testament to survival, creativity, and the unbreakable heartbeat of New York City. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of the Bronx, give it a like, subscribe for more stories from New York and beyond, and drop a comment telling us your favorite Bronx memory, maybe a ball game, a hip-hop show, or just your local bodega. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, keep exploring.